Hey, what's up? Today we're going to take a look at Filtertron Pickups. I just wanted to make a video about this, expressing my opinion on them, and having owned TV Jones Classic for a few months now, I feel like I can give some valuable insight into application of a Filtertron pickup and what it's best used for and what you can expect. So I'll start off by saying this guitar previously had a 57 Classic in the bridge, which is known for being very spanky, like almost single coily pickup. And back in like the 50s, 60s, typical like classic rock guitar sounds. Everyone said a Les Paul just sounds like a beefy telly, etc. And it was pretty much true because of how the pickups were designed. They're very like they didn't have a lot of bottom end, they didn't have a lot of like punch. They were just kind of really spanky, but they had a little more meat to them than your typical Les Paul, or sorry, your typical telly. So with Filtertrons, I feel that's even more true for a few reasons. First being the output is very similar, or actually even in this case, these Filtertron pickups are lower output than my telly's bridge pickup. So that's going to get you the clarity, that's going to get you the spank, very similar to a single coil. It's going to get you a very similar pick attack too, like when you're palm muting or just playing those nice and open chords, you're really going to hear every single note, like as you can tell. But so I was chasing that clearer sound on a Les Paul when I got these Filtertrons. That's the whole reason, because I like the sound of a telly, but feel-wise, for me, it's all about my Les Paul. Like, nothing compares. It was this one in particular, has relatively fat neck, but nothing ridiculous. And it already had, like, a natural spank to it, the guitar, like, it really... So, I thought the next step from a 57 Classic would be to get a Filtertron. Now, I think it's important to understand uses and the environment in which you're using your pickups. So particularly for a Filtertron, I think these are best used in a home or a studio application because of the output, as I specified earlier. So these, as you can probably hear, sound really nice in my home studio environment. Really nice and clear, articulate, and beautiful sounding. I think that's when a lot of demos on the internet are a little bit misleading because you're seeing the use in a home or a studio environment in which the elements are quite different. So I used this guitar live for a little bit, for a few months, and played about a dozen shows with it. And what I found is that Filtertrons do not work great for like a rock sound live if you're going for a more modern sound. If you have a classic rock sound, they'll still do fine. Like lots of like... They'll still sound great live. But for more modern application where you have lots of palm muting, lots of chugging, or fast, articulate parts where you're really just like... live, they'll start to sound quite frail because of the output once again. So there's a lot of dynamics in your playing, and low output pickups actually capture your dynamics very well and very accurately, which means you'll have some pick attacks or some strokes will be really quiet, some will be louder, and that's really good for cleaner styles of music. For maybe indie rock, these would be amazing, or emo. But for more modern sounds, they don't really do the job, and it's not quite a mystery that that's the case. I was just kind of I was a little naive, and I didn't understand how there's different applications for different pickups. So I'll compare the guitar sound that I typically go for live versus the Filtertrons with the same riff, so you can have an idea of what I mean, and to further explain the differences, and hopefully you can draw a conclusion for yourself. Now, I also want to compare using these for clean sounds because this is what Filtertrons are really good at. And if you find that you're not getting crystal clean enough sound out of a Les Paul, for example, or you just want a little bit more articulation in your chords and a little more clarity in general, a Filtertron is a really good choice for you. And I'll show you why by comparing it to a Tele. So hopefully you can draw your own conclusion from that. I personally like the Filtertrons a little better than the Tele because they're humbuckers after all, so they don't buzz or they don't pick up 60 cycle hum. They have a little bit more of a mid range to them that helps you kind of sit nicely in both a live setting and a studio setting. But as I mentioned, live I prefer higher output pickups. But you could definitely get, if you're playing cleaner styles of music, if you're playing just lightly driven stuff live, I would recommend a Filtertron over a Tele because you're going to prevent yourself from running into lots of feedback issues. But for rhythm, I think you got to stick to humbuckers for live, in my opinion. Yeah, so. Filtertrons, I don't know. If you like them, go get them. They're a little bit expensive, but I'm sure you can find some Gretsch Filtertrons laying around, or you can get yourself a Gretsch and you should be happy with them. But keep in mind that they're not going to sound as amazing live with a lot of gain, so they're best used with light to medium gain, and particularly in a home or studio environment. All right. Thanks for paying attention. Thanks for sticking around. If you like my content, I have a few more videos on my channel. It's all gear related. That's kind of what I like to do. And yeah, thanks for sticking around. See ya.